20th, 2017, and everyone could please either silence or turn off their cell phones, and then join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Denise, any additions or corrections?
Our road department has 2 additions, notice to proceed and vehicle purchase recommendation.
And I have one addition of summer fall program. Head Start. I mentioned it as liaison update last time, but I'd like to expand a little bit more.
Okay.
Head Start summer program, you said?
Food program.
Food program.
Okay, our first item is the timed item, 9 a.m. We were a little bit late in getting this done. We didn't have a meeting last week, but Elder Abuse Awareness Day proclamation, area on aging. We have before us a proclamation noting June 15th is the designated day for Elder Abuse Awareness Day.
Brian Davidson's here.
That's
Do you
right.
have any questions for him?
Okay. Now, in the past, we've done this a variety of ways. We've read it into the record and made the proclamation. What's the board want to do on this?
We commonly read it, and I feel make a strong statement that we,
Okay?
and of course, we might set a max down on the biggest youth initiative.
Yep. I'll go ahead and do that. It's before the Board of County Commissioners, Lake County, Oregon, in the matter of proclaiming June 15th, 2017 as Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Lake County, Oregon. Whereas thousands of vulnerable seniors and people with disabilities are victimized every year by financial exploitation, physical, sexual, and emotional abuse or neglect. And whereas elder abuse happens to men and women of all income levels, all cultural and ethnic groups, whether they are in good health or incapacitated in some way, in poor neighborhoods or in suburbia. And whereas these incidents of abuse and neglect take place in the home and in facilities are perpetrated by family members, friends, caregivers, and strangers. And whereas elder abuse is grossly underreported because the elderly who are being abused find it very difficult to tell anyone and are usually ashamed and sometimes afraid. And whereas signs of animal abuse and neglect are early warning signs of a senior's need for assistance, all citizens are encouraged to work together in reporting animal cruelty for the welfare and safety of our vulnerable seniors and people with disabilities. And whereas the Oregon law enforcement community, adult protective services, and advocates have forged a stronger working relationship through community-based multidisciplinary teams to prevent and prosecute abuse and neglect. And whereas Oregonians need to be better informed on preventive measures and the indicators of abuse and neglect, and now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Lake County Board of Commissioners that June 15th, 2017 is designated as Elder Abuse Awareness Day in Lake County. We encourage all citizens of Lake County to unite as communities to support our aging and people with disabilities.
Very good, thank you.
In addition to just proclaiming June 15th as elder abuse, we should all be aware 365 days a year. It's not just one day.
That is very true. Ryan, did you want to say anything else?
No, I thank commissioners for bringing it to everybody's attention.
Apologize for it not being,
Oh, no, that's fine. I
Prior to.
actually just got thrown into this myself, so,
yeah,
yeah,
well, thank you.
you bet. And maybe just real quick,
Yeah.
on record, just to let everybody know that Adult Protective Service or elder abuse investigations for Lake County, especially, or Lakeview specifically, are handled out of the Klamath Falls office. We don't actually have investigators here in Lakeview, and they work cooperatively with law enforcement agencies. And then in the northern end of the county, it's handled by Deschutes County. So just some clarification, just to let everybody know that it's not necessarily handled right here out of our Department of Human Services offices. It's handled out of Klamath Falls and the Bend branches. So, but I can always help anybody if there is a concern of elder abuse. I can help make referrals to the appropriate agencies.
Great.
So if citizen X sees some animal abuse, which is an early warning sign that may be additional abuse going on with elders, who do they actually, what's their first contact? Who do they contact?
For the animal abuse, I would contact our local law enforcement agencies, because everybody are mandatory reporters. So if it escalates to the next level of concern about a senior, law enforcement would cross-report it to the Adult Protective Services, or most likely staff it at our monthly multidisciplinary team of law enforcement and district attorney.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ryan.
You bet.
So our next timed item is at 9:10, and we will wait for that. It's going to be discussion on our budget adoption. But we can ask Ann to come up, and she can start to go down through some of our other items if she would.
So let's start in the fiscal year we're in right now. If we can look at resolution 2016-16. This is for the railroad fund. We will have more materials and services expenditures than we anticipated due to rail inspections. And we can fund this through community development loan fund, but it'll just be a transfer. It's not implementing a loan or a payback scenario. And the amount is $26,000. So we will increase materials and services in the railroad fund. We will increase transfers in the community development loan fund in the same amount.
Okay.
I might learn something new all the time with these budgets. This is the one time we can create a transfer, well, the one time we can create a category without doing a supplemental budget process and advertising in the newspaper. And it's on this transfer out.
Oh, okay.
With unrestricted dollars, so something good. Okay, 2016-17 is for the Marine Enforcement Department. This budget, we just estimate what we're going to spend in materials and services and what we're going to spend in labor or personnel services. We were wrong on the estimate. They need more appropriation authority and salaries. So this will increase salaries by $2,000 and decrease materials and services by $2,000. Same overall expenditures. 2016-18 is for the community development building program. They will have more building permit sales, and then they have more materials and services. Some of those building permits require fees paid on to the state. So as their revenue goes up, so do these materials and services. So this resolution is in the amount of $10,000. We can increase revenue by that amount and increase materials and services.
And we'll be taking action on all of these tomorrow.
Yes. So people are aware that this final AP run that we will do this week and next week, now that these budgets are fixed before June 30th, we really watch to make sure that if there's something someone's trying to pay, we work with those managers to either hold it for the next fiscal year, see if there's ways to accomplish their goals. But we watch that pretty carefully right now. The next resolution actually has to do with ending balances in funds that are not legislatively restricted. So every year we're required to do this by GASB 54. We do have what we would designate as special revenue funds, but it's not federal law or state law that requires us to have those as special revenue funds. So this resolution commits those balances to specific purposes. You can see in the resolution, we are talking about the museum fund, the landfill fund, the roundup fund, and the business loan program fund. So it's kind of a housekeeping every year process.
And just for the audience, explain what GASB 54 is, please.
Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And so this was 54, which means there was 1 through 53 before that, and now they're even, I don't know what.
Next year it'll be 55.
Oh, no, it's more than that. So, yeah, it's across the nation, they try to standardize financial reporting for governments so that people can look at one document at a local government and hope that it's similar to another document somewhere else. So that's their task, and periodically they make recommendations and rules, and they number them, and we have to follow them.
Each year always has, just for the audience,
Yeah,
acronyms.
that's good. I think we're just trying to keep you on toes.
Yes. I looked up the acronyms before you got here.
And so am I right?
Yes.
Oh, good. Thanks for saying that. Okay, so 9:10.
Yes, 19.
17-18 budget adoption. In your packet, you have a list of the line items that are affected by changes we made during the May 30th meeting. So those changes impact a lot of funds and a lot of lines, so there's quite a list there. There is an addition though. I don't know if we want to go through each one of these or not. But the addition is a discussion I think you guys are going to have this morning as well, and that's funding the KCC synchronization project. Depending on that outcome, we might have another budget change. So that's listed here as a potential 17-18 change. If you do approve the KCC synchronization for $25,000 in one fiscal year, we could afford that by increasing the beginning fund balance by $25,000 and increasing the transfer from general fund to the economic development fund to make that payment happen.
And that was, when I understand it, wasn't that given to us as option of one-time 25,000 or a 3-year graduation of 25,000?
Right. So this is a premature discussion, but depending on the outcome of the later topic, we could adopt the budget to handle it this way if you choose. If not, I'll stay tuned, listen to the discussion, see which direction you go.
So that option you just described is paying it out after July 1?
Yes. Yes. Yep, this is the 17-18, so this is everything after July 1st. Again, all the other changes, we talked about May 30th, significant changes with the Regional Solutions Grant for the railroad that allowed other funding sources to be reduced. And then the HVAC project in the fairgrounds, we're going to fund that. We're going to see savings in our insurance fund by acting as our own agent of record. And we're hoping to see revenue sources increase in public health, which allows us to reduce our support from general fund. The airport fund has a pavement management grant from the state of Oregon. We will see pavement at both Lakeview and Paisley. Our amount or our match is $7,425. However, all the other work that's going on in the airport, right now, I think it's best that general fund supports that instead of relying on their fuel sales, really.
So at this time, Ann, did you want to clear up anything about the airport and us receiving a grant of
from the Navy.
from the Navy of 170,000 or something like that?
Well, it was a little bit of a mixed thing there. The 170,000 is coming from the state of Oregon
Right,
for that pavement management program.
Yeah.
And it's both at Paisley and at Lakeview. I'm not sure what work we're doing with the Navy
well,
and where that,
might have gotten confused because maybe the Navy was going to float up Thomas Creek until she walked in and then to Paisley to do the work there. I don't know.
possibly,
Yeah.
possibly.
That would be about ripples, right?
Yes.
If they bring in a destroyer, they could run into one of the bigger ships like this happened.
That's true.
Being that Chihuahuan is a closed system, how would they access it?
It's all navigable.
Just water.
No, but they have to get the ship to it.
The spruce goose is dropping off the pavement.
Yeah.
So attached to that 17-18 adoption are a few documents. One is a budget increase document out of our financial system that shows actual values spent for different departments and funds. The 16 final adopted, the 17 adopted budget with these changes, dollar amount increase, and then a percentage increase. And then also a percentage of either general fund or the total county. So kind of a handy document if you want to just look at that bird's eye view of how we're spending dollars and what programs in, and then how that correlates to the overall county. So that document's available for you to look at, and then the last document in your packet is the draft Resolution 2017-03 that does 4 things. We have to adopt the budget in totality. We have to appropriate it according to program and then classification. We have to impose the tax so that our assessor's office can create those tax bills. And then we have to categorize the tax so the assessor's office knows if it's subject to the limitation, the general government or the education, or if it's outside of that limitation. So this resolution does those 4 things, and right now it's in draft form depending on your KCC decision.
So with looking through all that and with the inclusion of the KCC, we're still able to contingency the number that it shows in contingencies 328,403. That's with doing the transfer for the 25 for KCC.
The KCC transfer won't impact that contingency now, so that's
So
correct.
bring it
It's-
down to 303.
Actually, we're gonna be able to afford the KCC transfer with the increase in beginning fund balance, not a reduction in contingency.
So our contingency would stay there.
Yeah.
And we'd be able to make that payment all in 1 year. I know it's premature, we gotta have that discussion later, but, and within that contingency, through our notes, we've sort of set aside money to look at the OEM
Yes.
potential in this next year, so.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
I'll make a note in the narrative of the contingency department. It'll be listed there. I think that's the most I can do to have a note show up in the document, so.
Well, and we're all 3 aware that we're gonna be working on that, so.
So is there anything, I'm not remembering exactly in our contingency besides OEM that we identified that's there and available to move into a position?
I don't recall moving into a position.
Well, we didn't move it in. It's there to move into a position this next budget year if we come up with a position. We identified the money and set it aside in contingency, so is there anything else?
I think we also have contingency a little bit higher than typical with the unknowns with PILT, but also the unknowns with public health.
That was the other one,
Okay.
public health, yeah.
And for the audience, OEM is Office of Emergency Management. Under consideration is possibly a position voted to as our hazardous mitigation position. Currently, it's kind of split by deputy, doing some OEM and doing some deputy. Hasn't always worked out equal time, so shall have both OEM position per se. And we're still under consideration. Now, on the budget and all, we always have the South Central Oregon Economic Development District agreement down toward the end after we talk about budget. How would the budget of what we're considering here affect that?
Like we discussed in Fort Rock, I think there's dollars available in the projects and programs line item that would fund if you choose and how much you choose on that contract payment. So it's still in materials and services at a category level, so it doesn't impact that budget at all unless we're talking significantly higher dollars, and then that would change.
But in Fort Rock, we already decided to accept the $30,000 cost for the video lottery dollars contingent upon the contract later today with the discussion of the contract. So the decision's been made, we just have to accept the contract.
Okay, yeah, so there will be no budget.
And I was just looking at the KCC, if it, for the full amount of this, would it have any revenue impact?
No, because we're going to actually increase the general fund support for that fund to make that additional KCC payment.
Yeah,
If that's the
the actual
decision.
lottery dollars that we spend in economic development fund.
Very good, thank you. We do need to note, we all know this, but there's a one-time $75,000 increase that we weren't expecting. That's one reason why contingency was able to come up where it's at.
Right.
And that's the tower lease. So we won't be seeing that next year. This is a one-time thing, which helped us.
Yep.
So
That's the lease stuff on Black Hat for
Yep.
Verizon, wasn't it?
Yep, so that's when White was able to put money aside in contingency and they'll have contingency at our target. So that's a welcome increase for this next year. Won't be there the following year though.
Thanks, Andy.
Do you have an idea when the KCC discussion might?
Today. Well,
Before noon.
you know, because everybody's busy here, I was gonna go bounce around a little, but I think we're just gonna go in line, so it's down a little ways. We're gonna
You want us to come, are you gonna sit in or you want us to come grab you when we have that discussion?
Public Health has a fiscal review here soon, so I'm going to be over there, and then I'll just check in with you.
I can email you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner, the next item up is the nuisance abatement discussion. I don't know who else.
Aileen and Jennifer are here. I met with them on Friday. We've had
Why
some
don't you
real
grab that chair? there?
good discussions, so I'll let
How are you this morning?
How are you guys?
Jennifer and Aileen lead this.
Okay, so, since I started, I went through and I cleaned up the documentation process, so we have a clear process with, forms and that type of thing. And then, I've updated the files, and then I've caught up on previous nuisance violations. And so I sent you guys a graph, and I can kind of explain that, when you talk about that in just a second. So on this, I've gone out and I've photographed and investigated 48 alleged nuisance investigations. And, out of 21 of those were nuisances, and 13 of those I ended up handing over to our planning guy for land use violations, or possible land use violations. And,
Now, when you say alleged nuisance, that's where citizens have
yes.
contacted you on it?
Yeah, it's where people have turned in, somebody had turned in a big list in 2016 that had 33 properties in Christmas Valley. And so I went through every single one of those. And so that was a big part of it. And then we had, some properties here in Lakeview too.
So what was the, when you did that, the 33, what was the breakout on potential violations between nuisance and land use? I see the totals, but
Yeah. Well, they were all, it was files that I got that had been turned in before, so it was kind of a mixed use. It could be a possible violation. Some of them were like a storage shed, which wasn't anything,
right.
but, somebody reported it. And so some stuff went to planning, where people are living in a trailer without septic and that type of stuff.
Sure.
And then the other stuff is trash and garbage and things that violate our nuisance ordinance. And as you can see, you know, the majority of those were in Christmas Valley, and then I looked at Lakeview. And then I kind of held off on sending some of the letters, just because, you know, we're just getting started. And I want to be able to, you know, to follow through. If we send out letters and we say, okay, it's 10 days, and you better do this, or else, you know, we should follow through. And some of those we've had, you know, we've had trouble locating owners, and we're working with legal. I've been talking to Mr. Bailey about the processes we can go through for notification to track these people down, because, you know, half the letters I sent out, I got back as non-deliverable.
And you sent them out by the addresses that the assessor's office has.
Yes. Yeah, and some of them, you know, it'll be a bare piece of land, and it'll have a bunch of junk on it and stuff, so there's no residence or anything, it's just a piece of land.
Certified and regular mail, we've done both.
And as we have been working with ladies, that's quite a challenge. So Aileen's working with legal counsel to find out on a few of the landowners, they can be local and we might even know who they are and they won't pick up the letter. We're trying to find out if we're able to contact another agency, another department, or if we can hand deliver those, or how we can do that to try to make sure. Some people just will not pick up a certified letter or something. So we're working through the challenges that's come with this. As you guys well know, the nuisance abatement hasn't been fully implemented for many years. So working at this, trying to educate the public and the people at the same time, trying to not just come in with a heavy hand and cost a lot of money to abate these properties. So Aileen and Jennifer's working very much to try to encourage the landowners to clean it up themselves. If they're making some kind of improvements, Aileen's got all kinds, and I'm probably taking your thunder, but she's got a lot of resource things she's pulling together to educate the landowners. You can haul it here, you can apply for these dollars or whatever. I don't know if there's any dollars or whatever, but she's finding out where they can take the stuff and really working at it, trying to. The people are going to pay for it one way or the other. We're limited on the amount of funds we have to go in and fully abate a piece of property. So we're working very much to try to encourage the owners to do it themselves. And what hasn't been fully implemented for quite some years, it's sort of a challenge to get people to start doing it.
I sent you guys photographs of, I guess, our biggest offenders.
Yeah, they were
And,
amazing.
yeah, I want to, you know, we went through the list, and, you know, some of them are working on things, some of them, I don't know if I can kind of mention their names, but.
Once this comes into a meeting, it's all public record, and so
Yeah,
if this has their names on it, then
Okay, I just want to make sure. So like,
We should be,
you'd probably best if you just use the address or the location, South Lakeview, North Lake, or whatever.
okay. So I have this one, well, I have a file number 10.17. It's in Christmas Valley, and we're working with the DEQ because it also has land use and sewer issues and those issues. He has cleaned up a little bit, and so he's, you know, working on it, but you know, it's going to take a lot, and it's a lot of land use on this one.
but he is responding and working on it.
A little bit, yes. We're working with him.
Yes. But he's willing to work.
Yeah, you know, the last time I've been up there, he had picked up and moved some stuff, and, you know, you could tell that he picked some of the trash up.
I agree that it's education and gentle approach initially, and if you're showing any sign, then just continuously encourage. There will be some that will go ahead and take action on it.
Yes. And this one, I think once we take care of the land use issues, it's going to take care of a bunch of the nuisance issues. Because this one has a lot of people living in trailers without proper septic, and last time I was up there, they had a porta potty, and, you know, so once we get the land use issues taken care of, then I think the rest will fall in line. And then for the 008. We have a hearing scheduled for him, that'll be on July 5th. So you guys will hear about that one.
Once it starts in the hearing process, we'll have to wait for the hearing process to go through its parts, so we probably won't discuss that one any further than that one's into the hearing process.
File number 007.17. This guy is, he's working on it. He's come into the office several times and talked to us about it. And so that one, we're just kind of waiting and seeing, but he has made a big improvement on the property so far.
And we can elaborate a little bit. This is one that the person purchased from the county on tax foreclosure. Has done a lot of work, Darlene's aware. Still a lot of work to be done, but as he's continuing to, as he's get funds enough to haul stuff away, it's a positive, even though it's not where everybody'd like to see it. It's what we'd like to see is people taking responsibility for what they have.
Taking ownership.
And then file number 001.17. This is, I guess it was a previous wrecking yard or something down there on the south end of town. And, we had a conference call with him, and he's agreed to have stuff. He said in about a week and a half, he's gonna have somebody come in and start hauling stuff off. So we gave him 30 days.
Is it mostly metal?
Yeah, it's
Everything.
tires, it's
Yeah,
metal,
it's-
it's, I think they were running a recycling facility there at one time. And so, we did talk to him, he did say, 30 days we gave him, and he agreed, so. Hopefully, I'll follow up and keep a close eye on this one, and hopefully this will be cleaned up.
No.
The next one, file number 002.17, this is right where you come into town, in Lakeview across from the gas station. And this is one of the ones that somebody passed away.
Come into town across from the gas station. South.
South of the town, yeah. And, we're having trouble locating, somebody passed away, and so we're having trouble locating the people for this one. And that's what we're working on with the attorney to go through that one.
That's a suggestion. Because it does cost these individuals a fair amount of dollars to take things to the landfill or whatever. Many years ago, maybe 10-ish, a nonprofit group got together and had a metal recycling out on the west side of town, you would call that. And a tremendous amount of car bodies, truck bodies, farm, old metal stuff. And then about 3 or 4 years ago, another nonprofit had a tire cleaned up, and they had an agreement with Les Schwab for people to bring the tires in, and Les Schwab collected that recycling. We might investigate working with other groups for some of these sites on the metal and the tires.
The metal cleanup was a Ford leadership group. I ran the loader outfit on that. The Ford leadership, they no longer do those classes. But there could be a nonprofit or somebody that might be interested in doing something like that.
I've contacted, there's a place in Prineville that I've gotten prices, and, they'll come down and do a tire event. So we could do a tire, and we could limit it, so it's, residential, not, not businesses. And so that we could do a tire event, or, I've talked to scrap metal people, like I've contacted a guy in Alturas in different places, and, they just don't want to get back to me with the information. I guess with the metal prices, they're just really not that interested in it right now, unfortunately. So I'll keep trying to see if I can find somebody, but that's kind of the challenge right now.
And the tires will have to pay for it, isn't anything that they're gonna come down and do for, there's a pretty hefty cost.
But if we investigate it and it does pan out to be feasible, we need to consider it across the county, not just, a gentleman from North Lake made a very strong point of, when we have cleanup down here, we should also offer the same opportunity up north.
Mhm.
And
Oh, of
other
course.
locations.
Yep.
see, this next one is, it's another estate, it's 003.17, and it's on I Street, it's on the corner. And this one, somebody's trying to buy it, they're trying to purchase it, and once they get the estate, because it's in an estate, so once they get it, if they can buy it, they'll clean it up once they purchase it. And so he's working really hard on trying to do that, so hopefully he can get the estate thing figured out and get it purchased. And then the next one I have is 005.17. And this one is also on I Street, and this one takes up most of the block. And you have a burnout trailer and, you know, lots of garbage. I've sent them the letter, so they've received it, and they don't want to respond. So we're gonna send them a 30-day notice, and I think we should abate this. Because I think it's a public safety hazard.
And then on the septic county abatement, what process do we have?
Well, right now, you know, we really don't have a formal plan. We're kind of working on putting that together. We can use, you talked to someone about using our community service workers.
To abate it through our ordinance is the process to get where we go to abate it. When it comes to going in and cleaning it up, is where I've been talking with the ladies, it'd be great if we had contractors that go in and clean it up. As Aileen says, for some of the regular garbage, we could possibly use service crews on a limited amount. But this is almost a whole block here. It includes vehicles, includes manufactured homes. They're working on right now to find out what the process is. I think we're going to talk to the assessor's office for burnout mobile homes that have to be possibly have to be taken off of there. They're titled. There's a lot of processes that go along with the full abatement. We only set a little bit of money aside for full abatement, so think of abating a whole block, and you have $5,000 or $10,000 to clean it up. So we're going to try to work with the landowners. This one needs to be abated, needs to be cleaned up, but we also have to find out what's allowed for the county to go in there and move out. What we see is trailers and everything that's burned out, but to haul those off can be quite a cost, and it can be legal about vehicles, titles, and registrations, those type of things. There's some challenges that we're looking at that Aileen's checking into with our legal counsel and everything.
Yes, I know it's pretty complex, that's why we need a process, step by step to address.
And I'm working on that and talking to Mr. Bailey about the specifics with things that have titles, and, you know, what do we have to do? Do we have to go all the way to court, even though it's in our ordinance? Do we have to go, you know, and get an order from the judge so we can go on the property? So I'm, you know, I first went through and got the process for, okay, how to inspect and all that stuff, so now I'm gonna work on getting the abatement process done.
Have you gotten gleaned any ideas from other counties?
Just about all the other counties go a fee schedule, and they fine people. They don't abate it themselves because it's just a bottomless pit of money that the county is putting out, and, you know, so they issue fines and tickets, and they'll leave properties and turn it over to collections. Is what.
So this whole block is just
On this one here, the fee schedule wouldn't even work at this point. We can't even get a hold of the property owners not responding to it. Go to the courts and start putting fees on there would be a challenge in itself.
Well, as we dealt a year or so ago out on that side, we had the sheriff handle it.
Yeah, and so we've got to get that part of the process.
Well, this one,
To consider the fees and everything, that's something I think after we get through a year's time, as we're finally getting where we're going to start enforcing these ordinances, we can look at adding the fees and everything. Talking with Greg, our building official, which does this in Klamath County quite often, they sort of approach it to the landowners as you're going to pay. You're better off to pay a little and clean it a little yourself, other than us coming and you're going to pay the same, or maybe more if the county cleans it up. So they really encourage the landowners much better off to pay a little as you go and clean it up yourself. We'll work with you. We're willing to work with you compared to us just coming in and putting a lien on your property.
That is better.
And so, talking with Greg, it was quite interesting in hearing how Clam County doesn't have the money to go in and abate all the properties either. They really encourage the landowner to, if you're gonna pay, you might as well pay as you go.
So this property that takes in a block, is it just one owner?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have, the first property, it's actually 3/4 of a block for this one. And then at the other end of it, on high, I think it's 10th Street, could be 11th. That's the one that somebody else is trying to buy to clean up. So basically that whole block and that whole area in the south of the town, it's a mess. And we really need to do something about it.
Because it's one owner but different tax lots.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
that may be, we don't know exactly what all those challenges are going to be. One owner, but this one, this tax lot, this one's another tax.
There's 3 tax lots, there's 3 different notices.
And there's some mobile homes that are owned by different people, so I think maybe they've rented out space or something, I don't have their details, but, just from the tax records, it appears that they own the land, but somebody else owns the mobile home.
The mobile home.
Complication.
Yes.
Appreciate you working on it.
Oh, thanks.
Long overdue.
The only other one we didn't go through was 006.17, and that one is another one that, and this one is where you turn to go down to the industrial park. And so, they have a lot of appliances and metal and that stuff, and it's kind of almost encroaching out onto the road. And this is one that, we know who owns it, and we're just having trouble contacting the person. So we're looking at avenues of publishing stuff in the paper, and different ways of trying to get hold of them.
We know this one's a local person, we'll pick it up, so we're trying to figure out how we can actually notify.
Well, about a year ago when we started this discussion financially for a position, and then we had a field trip, and we've had further discussion, and then Commissioner Winters got several of you together to form a committee to look at how we would go about this. And since that time, we have a department that's been formed officially, and we're on the right track. You look at this and it's not a good thing. But what's a good thing is we're starting down that path. And hopefully people realize we're doing it on behalf of the citizens of Lake County. We're very respectful of property rights. But the types of things that you're showing us today are huge encumbrances and infractions on everybody else's rights. And the health and safety aspect of it is huge. And I'm just thankful that we're starting it out. It's going to come with some lumps, but we've got to do it for our county.
And that's why Mark is here today, because he has property across from one of these that he's been looking at it for 30 years.
Yeah,
It's been laying downhill for 30 years.
well, and Mark, hopefully you and many others see that we're not just taking a run at this. We're going to resolve these issues. It's in some cases it's going to be with good compliance, and others it's going to come with some significant pain and suffering, you might say, but we're going to get there. I'm just glad we have the means to do it. I'm glad Eileen's here, Jennifer, Greg, Commissioner Winters with the work that he does as the liaison to the department, Darwin in the past. We're going to get there, so thank you.
And long haul, kind of pushing it for 10 years.
Yeah, and any helpful advice or community type things we can,
Well, you know, I didn't, Jennifer, while you're saying that, Will's here today to talk about the Lakeview Community Partnership, and we're not here to have a discussion necessarily on all the solutions, but I suppose at some point in his presentation today, I'm gonna ask the question, you know, is there any outreach with the work that they're looking to do, not just in Lakeview, but through all of our communities, that they might be able to help and partner, know places, you know, those types of things. I think the more we talk about it, the more we're gonna find that there's other avenues to go to get some of this done.
Roadmaster and big dump trucks?
Yeah, yeah.
Did have that in product, in location.
Our road superintendent is not smiling.
No, he's not.
And right now, just because there's such a big need and there's, you know, properties everywhere, basically we're going on a report basis. So if somebody calls and reports, you know, I'll go out, we have them fill out a complaint form, and then I'll go out and investigate. Just for now, just because of, you know, the magnitude of stuff out there.
Well, and you know, we had that discussion before too, because we wanted to get to where people, you know, because a lot of people were nervous about reporting because then their neighbor knew who it was and so forth. But I would more than agree with you, the workload's big enough without us just going out looking for it. Eventually, we'll be able to start to monitor once we get everything in pretty good order, but I think that's still a good way to go.
But if we come across something, we relied on Citizen X to report it on his neighbor, which is awkward. The county can take the initiative also if there's something very obvious. We don't have to wait on the citizen to report it.
Yeah, if it's egregious and I see it, you know, when I'm out looking at something else, of course, then I'm gonna be like, okay, this one needs a letter, which a couple of those have come across, one we're gonna have a hearing on. And, you know, so then we'll take care of it that way, but I'm not driving around looking for, oh, they have one trash bag in their yard. It's the really big stuff that we need to take care of.
Yeah.
And not to go too far down this, because Darwin and I haven't had a chance to visit, and just been sort of tied up last day, but this is triggering the land use side of it too, which has not really been, a lot of complaints come into us over the last several years. So this is triggering onto the land use side, which obviously we definitely know that our land use ordinances are outdated, 1985 or 89, whatever it is. So this is triggering another side that we've got to get that molded together between nuisance and the planning side. And so, and I don't want to go too far because Darwin and I haven't really visited, but us as a board may be looking at our planning ordinance, enforcement and everything also, because this is triggering that part of it. Whenever for years, the nuisance ordinance hasn't been really enforced as much as it can. A lot of people have just, on the land use side, have just done a few things. So it's triggering that. It's causing extra workload in the planning side. And so it's going to trigger a lot of things.
So the land use was one that the gentleman from northern Lake County have always. So. And I want to say that IMA is outdated. It just hasn't been progressively addressed and upgraded.
And the date's fairly old too.
Today was more of an update, you guys, so
Yep.
we're not coming back tomorrow for consideration and action, correct? It's on the,
I don't see anything for
Okay.
action.
No.
Yeah, it was just a,
I thank you both very much.
It really has an effect on our overall amenity values, which equates to the overall economy also. When people come into town and it's kind of shabby,
Yeah.
they keep on driving.
Yeah.
So it has a rippling effect to many different ways.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all of this. Thanks for the update. Darwin.
Thanks, guys.
Non-disturbance.
Thank you.
make the progress. City renewables and businesses that they own, Airport Solar and Fossil Lake County 2. Requested 3 non-disturbance agreements for properties where they'll either put a solar project, which has either been already approved, or a substation for some of the solar that they'll be producing at those sites. So in your packet should be the 3 agreements. I believe legal counsel has also looked at them and had maybe a few comments. Denise can correct me on that. Give those comments if you submit them. Pretty straightforward. They will eventually come back for the non-disturbance of mineral rights agreements for a full request to turn those rights back over to the service owner, which they are. And then for the roads in which are on the deeds that they have for these properties, they'll be looking to have those vacated. So that's pretty much the summary.
So this is for non-disturbance, and you say that they come back later, basically to take the reservation off of it. That's whenever we request analysis. I think that's right, of the property, of any potential minerals on there.
Right.
We've been through that also at one point. But this right now would be allowing to go ahead and go forward and be non-disturbance, basically, that they wouldn't be disturbing any of the potential mineral.
Yeah, but we're not going to be touching these lands in the meantime, and according to the agreements that we would enter into, and that they will be able to continue with their projects forward, and that then at some point their financial backing will need final assurance that those have been vacated or transferred. And that's obviously a process that we'll go through, and there'll be public comments and notices.
The only thing I'm sort of trying to absorb here, Darwin, is that they go ahead with this, the investor developers go ahead and do this. And then we do, whenever you do that analysis and we find that there's quite a valuable mineral there, what does that mean for their
Well, at that
investment?
point, I believe that these agreements would still be in place because it's the life of the project. So I think they, at least at this point, have enough of assurance to continue to move forward in their process to developing the projects. And that they're fully aware of that situation, that if there are. For both of these 2 sites though, it was already predetermined on the Black Cap and on the Fossil Lake areas that there were no mineral rights of value. Those were 2 of the 5 projects that they brought forward before and the study was done on. But that process is, ORS regulated, and we have to actually hold hearings and hire the geologists again, and there's separate properties that weren't looked at before, but adjacent to those already found properties of no value for mineral rights. So they're with this, just, it's for the life of the project, that's written in the agreements, and it gives them some kind of assurance moving forward, but then, if they feel that they need more, then they'll come back.
And the life of the agreement is commonly 20 years.
I believe it's 30 or 25.
But basically, if there is some mineral, it doesn't vacate ownership of that mineral, it just pushes it on hold.
Yeah, these agreements don't do that at all. This is just saying we're not going to disturb the land, for that period. If there's no value, then that'll be your guys' determination. It's your opportunity to transfer those mineral rights and vacate roads if there's no public interest or need to keep them. So then that would be my recommendation later, as it has been in the past. But again, that's further down the road. Just what we're talking about today is just the agreement.
Okay. Anything else, Darwin?
No.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Jake? Community Justice RFP Award Contracts. Lake District Hospital,
Would be the
Moral
MRT.
recognition therapy.
yeah,
Mhm.
yep,
The MRT first.
Okay.
yep.
So last meeting, the intent, as we don't have the intention is to award that contract with the hospital, also known as Lake District Health
Yeah, just Commissioner Shawn, you weren't there. We approved the intent to award on all three of these in Fort Rock, waiting for the contracts to come in. No, contracts that's the process for tomorrow.
So we'll have Mr. Bailey,
Center. Mr. Bailey has approved all three of them.
yeah, he'll give us the thumbs up, so.
And
Straightforward.
just for the audience and people on the camera, just give us a little step on each of these, why you came to the conclusion of awarding it to the party that you did.
Okay. We submitted an RFP,
Request for
request for proposal back in May. It came due, in April, it came due in May. We had some follow-up questions for all the programs involved. For the moral recognition therapy, there were 3 proposals received, one from Family Counseling Solutions, one from Lakeview Center for Change, and one from Lake District Wellness Center, the hospital, Lake District Hospital. During the course of the interviews, Lakeview Center for Change pulled out. Rescinded their proposal while, so we pushed on the other 2 programs in Lake District Wellness Center in the scoring process. It was awarded the contract.
Very good, Jay.
And then remaining 2, one is for batter's intervention. Tara Jones, doing business as Family Counseling Solutions, was the only proposal received. She's the only therapist in Lake County. She's been doing the therapy work through the hospital, but she is no longer with the hospital. She's in private practice now. So, she was the only one that submitted the proposal and was awarded that contract. And we're comfortable moving forward with Tara because she's done great work over the course of the last 4 years.
Well, we've got it on the agenda to take action tomorrow. Thank you, Jay.
Thanks, Chair.
And just for notation, the sex offender and the batters used to be handled through Cape Klamath Falls. Over the years, used to be county community mental health. Worked really hard with.
Everything is to go
Everything.
through Klamath County. So all our services were out of Klamath County. Prior to my arrival in 2012, that was brought back here. So all the services are here local now.
Which saves a lot of people driving.
It does.
From the jobs.
It does.
Thanks, Jay. Okay, we're gonna hold off on some of the ones that are just us-ins here, and we're gonna bounce down to the Lakeview Community Partnership request discussion with Will. Morning, Will.
Good morning. I also have Ann Logan here, who is on our board.
And that board is the Lake County Community Partnership.
Yes, Lakeview Community Partnership, yes.
Hi.
So I believe you have this top document already in your packet, but we got some letters of support that I wanted you to see as well. From Intercourt in Paisley and Buchanan in Christmas Valley. Those are the 2 organizations that we're currently planning on working with through this network. And then as we progress through this pilot project, we will likely expand that list.
And just for clarification, I think we all know Intercourt Family Center in Paisley, that's been established for many years. CAN Foundation is a new nonprofit organization in northernmost Lake County.
Yes, they're established in Christmas Valley and work primarily in Christmas Valley. I believe they've been established for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, that's 2.
So at our Fort Rock meeting, Commissioner, I tabled this in the KCC for all three commissioners. We tabled it, I guess, both of us agreed, tabled this to all three commissioners for a meeting, to have the discussion and to move it forward. And that was just so that all three of us were together.
Sure. Well, I responded back, a very short response to Laurel the other night. He sent out a email and had the attachment from Judge Nichols, Rob Nichols, president of the community partnership, which really helped me. Not that I didn't understand the Lakeview Community Partnership, but it's nice to know that the board was in lockstep with what Will was presenting. So this, in short version, it cleared it up for me.
Good.
Yeah. And then your additional letters of support, so.
Using the letter of support shows that it is a countywide and not just a Lakeview endeavor.
Absolutely.
So, and since Ann's here as a board member, I'm gonna ask this question. I'm not trying to tell you all what to do, but given the somewhat newness, I know the Lakeview Community Partnership's been in place for a while, working specifically here in Lakeview. And yeah, now you're branching out. Is it too late? Do you want to consider? Are you willing to look at changing your name since you're wanting to go countywide with your efforts?
No. We are Lakeview Community Partnership, and that's where we started. And we want to incorporate the county. We don't want to be North County, South County. We want to come together as one. This is just a branch of LCP that we want to try to reach out to them. They wouldn't want to be, they want to stay Paisley, they want to stay Christmas Valley. We just want to help them and give them some ideas what we have learned along the way.
Yeah.
But we're still Lakeview Community Partnership.
Well, go ahead.
I believe I responded to Brad at the last meeting that I was at, with our mission is going to still be downtown Lakeview. However, we recognize that working with Christmas Weekend, working with Intercourt, working with these other organizations benefits our organization and our mission here, because it strengthens some grant proposals we can make. So it isn't that we are branching out into the county so much as we are recognizing the benefits of working together.
Collaborating.
Yeah.
And that does help on grant, if you got multiple parties doing the same, working together.
Yeah.
It carries a lot of weight on grant applications.
Exactly.
I don't have any more questions. I know we have it on the agenda tomorrow for consideration, so.
And that was a request of 2,500,
Correct.
and that goes toward what?
It goes towards the rare participant that we are currently in process of getting. And this would be 10% of the rarest time, which would go directly to this collaborative network project that we're looking at.
Even though I already know what it is, I always like to ask it for the audience and people on the
So RARE stands for Resource Assistance for Rural Economies. It is a statewide program run out of University of Oregon and funded in part through AmeriCorps. And it is a program that places folks that are just starting their career in community economic development into communities throughout rural Oregon. Each placement is specific to that community, and they stay there. They're there for 11 months. They have the chance to re-up after that, but it's an initial 11-month contract that they make.
And with this, if we get another rail student, and this is part of the funding for that, then that person would be a catalyst across the county. Is that what I heard?
That's the goal of this particular, the project, the network that we're working on is to act as that catalyst and drive that collaboration forward, yes.
I know that the North Lake Christmas Valley, the We Can Foundation, wanted, in talking with the Barb Johnson, one of her that group's emphasis is not just to focus just on, but how can, on common endeavors that are common across the county, how can each organization work together to get a sum greater than each individual working alone? So it's building a bridge across the
Yes,
county.
we hope to do that.
So you're looking for $2,500 with the potential asking for another $2,500 the following year. What I read in here is that you're looking at 2 years, rare students usually 2 years. So you're looking for a 1 year commitment of $2,500, correct?
Mm.
But your vision
No,
is,
go ahead, you're more
but your
expert.
vision is looking at coming back after you build these partnerships and possibly asking again next year. Or did I not read that right?
So the current ask is for the 2,500 for this year. There is, this is a pilot project, so we don't know for sure how it's going to play out for that next year, what the recommendations are going to be from this pilot. But currently, we're expecting that we will come back for another 2,500 next year as well.
So with that, what kind of updates or what kind of criteria will be set up for the rare students so we see the value in it as the one that you're asking for dollars for the 2,500? What's going to come back to the Board of Commissioners? Have you set any criteria? You will certain number of meetings, or you'll come and give us quarterly updates, or
Whatever
is there
you-
anything into place for that?
Whatever you would like us to do. Yeah. We're open to anything, so.
I mean, in the project, we have committed to the rare student visiting Paisley and Christmas Valley at least once a month. But, we haven't set up any reporting procedures or anything like that at this time. But
Well, if we approve it tomorrow, I'd suggest to go along with what Commissioner Winters is saying. We start out and just say a quarterly report, because if we're gonna do monthly visits, within those 3 months, we'll have something probably good to report, so.
The more that we're somewhat involved, or the public hears about it, the better it is. And for it to go 1 year and come in for a request for more money, and but what have you done? And you have to throw it all at us in the last little bit in the rounds of dollars. So utilize our work sessions, like minimum, I like probably quarterly. The press is always here, so you get that part of it also. And see the positive things that possibly can come out of it.
There's nothing but positive for that.
Well, by the quarterly, and building on what Commissioner, by the quarterly response, and for anyone who watches the video of the Examiner, but we also need to kind of have it in the Desert Whisperer and the Community Breeze also. It just let the average citizen, almost average, the prominent citizens, which is everybody, have an appreciation that there's things going on.
Mhm.
And that just builds confidence.
I don't have anything else. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay,
Thank you for considering county law as an emphasis.
road superintendent.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, we have 2 additions. If we could review or discuss the hot mix asphalt, notice to proceed. We put out for bid for the hot mix asphalt contract for supply and delivery for the Dog Lake project, and the 2 bidders that came back, Rocky Mountain Construction was $74 a ton, or in its entirety, $491,250. Eagle Peak was $78. And just for a little bit more information, $74 a ton for here in this valley is a really good price. Especially delivered to the job. There's no county cost to get that material from the plant to our job. That's delivered.
So Kevin, before you go any further on that, you know, it's not our job to go out and find more work for these contractors, but have they indicated, that, you know, because we always have paving needs outside of just the county, have they indicated that they've been able to, you know, sometimes we get our costs cut a little bit if they have some additional work. Is that the case here?
Well, it was an unknown at the time, but through the planning and the timing of our bid being put out in coordination with when ODOT put their material bid out to try and keep both parties' costs down and get a hot mix plant in the valley for this construction season.
Okay. Well, next year when we start the project, I know when we've talked about this before with our airport project that's gonna be going on, you know, there's gonna be opportunities there. It may be that those separate entities, us as the county and the airport contract, may come up with different contractors, you know, for whatever reason, but economy of scale, I think, is gonna be huge. There's, I know some other projects that will be happening, so just wanted to throw that out there for this morning.
Yeah.
And also, the crack strip, the high desert cruisers, is always wanted to be made aware when we have a hot plant come in. Not that they may have the finances to negotiate on their own, but at least they are aware.
Well, and there's been a couple other locals that have called just to see what the progress is, and I was unable to say officially until we take care of this and we prevent it with being, but now we can do that.
So when will we start the paving?
The date in the bid was July 10th for us to begin install. And this contract also includes requirements for tons a day and tons per hour, which goes along with quality insurance of that install for optimum density of that material. $74 a ton is only good if it lasts for a very long time, so.
So going back a month or two, are we gonna use our new machine on this?
Our new machine will get utilized to place the shoulders on this project, because following this ODOT specs, which we need to for this grant project, we won't be able to place aggregate material on this hot mix once it's secured, so that's what the shoulder machine.
No, the density. I
Yep,
don't remember
that's what that'll be for.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna use that.
Optimum density.
Yeah.
We will, each day we will document roller patterns on an inspection sheet, which goes along with the auditing process for that HWA to ensure that we have maximum density, or what you call optimum density.
That new machine is called Kevin Hawk.
Yeah, that's what,
He'll be on the job site.
he's training him.
Yep.
Good.
Okay.
So before you go on, we don't have this, we haven't used the edition, so I'm gonna ask the board if we want to just go ahead and approve this today or have it again tomorrow.
Is it
I mean, it's.
time sensitive, you need to get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can, yeah, so we can proceed and they know that we're committed and so forth, so. It didn't come into us in the timeframe that we needed to, so I appreciate you letting us add it.
We're pretty easy, believe it or not. So I'll make a motion that we accept the notice to proceed on Dog Lake Lane asphalt concrete pavement production delivery contract from 2017-3, the total amount of $491,250, $74 a ton.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the notice to proceed on the Dog Lake Lane asphalt contract pavement production and delivery contract 2017-3 to Rocky Mountain Construction LLC in the amount of $491,250. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And the second item that we added was for the purchase of 2 vehicles to replace plow trucks. These are crew cabs and replacing some tired snow removal trucks that the road department has. We put requests for quotes out for crew cabs in an effort to manage and look forward to some of our regional maintenance where we're gonna have personnel moving to one location for a set period of time to do maintenance work, where currently we have regular cab trucks available and trying to maximize or minimize, I should say, the gas being spent to and from.
Appreciate that.
Did my comment make any difference? I know it didn't, but I was just gonna share this with my fellow commissioners. I told them they look kind of like the Forest Service line now, so.
We don't want to appear as though we're a parade during the hilly activities.
Exactly, yeah.
So these two vehicles, we would like to purchase one out of this current fiscal budget, and which is the $41,847. And the second one out of next year's, both of which low quote was local vendor Hall Motor Company.
What's these 3/4 tons?
These are 1-ton
One-ton.
crew cab trucks that will be used in replace of the regular cab trucks during winter maintenance, but then for summer maintenance, like I said, be available for more personnel to be in one vehicle going to and from.
And you have the money budgeted, one in this year and then the other one the next year?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
I just can go ahead and get, so he doesn't have to come back tomorrow.
No, he doesn't have to come back tomorrow, I don't.
Well, you guys have the information in front of you for the quotes that we did. There was some certain items that we asked for on these trucks because, and I guess I just want to include this in the decision. We asked for auxiliary upfit switches and some upfit electronic modules, which most of these new construction grade pickups offer now. It kind of takes away the risk of tying future electrical equipment, beacon lights, safety lights, reverse lights, plow, auxiliary things, into these vehicles so that, because they're all electronic anymore. So this kind of also simplifies our install of future equipment, be it plow and all those safety items.
Okay,
There's no plows, they pass in front of my house sometimes. A lot of time when neighboring property owners plow their road down onto the county road, and then it forms into ice, and that's a big, heavy shock to the county plow truck. Do you have just the information coming in winter addressing that so people may be a little more conscientious with it?
That does go out in the paper. I can't recite verbatim to you, but it's very similar to what you're discussing to kind of eliminate that problem. But yeah, it goes out in the paper, and then we also have what would you call them, mailbox stuffers that has the same kind of requirements, or I should say restrictions on landing and pushing snow into the right of way.
thanks, Kevin.
Yep. I guess I just have one other thing. If you have an estimate of time for the site visit.
Yeah, we were kind of chatting, we weren't sure that it got concluded that we were gonna go today.
Yeah, it's perfect for me if it's okay for you.
What time works for you?
Well, whenever you guys are done with this, or after lunch, 1 o'clock, 1:30, I'll come back and. Are you able to go as well?
No.
I just seem to be able to go after lunch, if that would.
1 o'clock, a little bit after?
1:30, I don't know how long this is going to go.
Okay.
Yeah, let's go 1:30.
I have a meeting with the Forest Service on a dead Indian Mountain, dead Indian communication site topic
Okay.
in Paisley, so I won't be able to make it.
Okay, I'll be back at 1:30.
You're going to, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Denise, we need to make this vehicle.
It's already in there.
Gotcha, thank you. So we're gonna turn to you, Denise, this time, Helium.
Okay, so Helium, there are actually 3 different agreements for our software upgrade that we're gonna do in the assessor's office. We're gonna start January of 2019, or 18, sorry. the three agreements, one's for the software itself, one's for the consultant, and one's the support agreement. So we did go over, it was approved in budget time to move forward with this
Yeah.
project. They are holding our spot. I have promised them tentatively that we will have signed documents from tomorrow.
Great. That's what we'll shoot for.
Okay. The AgTech proposal is for our project related to putting more powerful UPSs on our security system for when we have power outages. As you know, when the power goes out, we only have 15 minutes for the jail to do our cameras and for our doors to work. So these bigger UPSs are going to assist us with those issues in the future.
How will it assist us?
They'll last for 2 hours rather than 15 minutes.
So will they be in addition to the existing ones, or it'll replace those?
Replace those.
And then what will happen to the old ones?
We'll use them for
Other
replacements as things go out.
This next budget year, we need on the security side of it, and all that, we need to start building a reserve for a security system. I mean, time's already flown by.
Yeah.
Cameras are starting to get old, things are starting
That
to get
system's
old.
already 5 years old.
Yeah.
It's already antiquated.
Yep.
There's
So,
lots of things we need to start doing with reserve communication equipment is another one.
so that,
Okay. Okay, the next item on here, the KCC Foundation campaign request. As you alluded to, Commissioner, you talked about it.
yeah, so what Ann talked about earlier in the budget was sort of brought forward by me after KCC came to us and done a presentation. Would like to have buy-in from Lake County of the $25,000 for the synchronization work. We tabled this in Christmas Valley, waiting for, or not Christmas, Fort Rock, waiting for all three commissioners to be together. So what I did, I worked with Dan a little bit on a scenario of just going ahead and paying the full amount and using general fund dollars, transferring into the video lottery fund, because that's where our contract with KCC is anyway. So this would be actual general fund dollars that would be paid out of that fund. As Ann says, added revenues will absorb the $25,000, and we could pay it all in 1 year and be done. And so this is the scenario I brought forward if you guys want to support in that. That way, we're not 3 budget years into it, and with the one-time added revenues we've got this year, we're able to afford to pay it all at one time, so.
Makes sense.
Well, and we do have it on tomorrow, but I'll just concur with what you just said. That's where I would be wanting us to go tomorrow, so.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you guys understood. I just wanted to sort of ask Ann to put that in that way.
So we can afford it this year, do it one time.
Okay.
Makes sense. Just for the audience, you might give a little description of what the synchronization is.
It's remotely from KCC to the Innovation Center to Paisley and to Christmas Valley, able to, the schools be able to do the classes right there in the schools. It's a great opportunity for being able to further your education through community college. And it's just unbelievable that KCC is doing that throughout the whole county. Whenever there's a whole nother tax district that KCC doesn't receive any of the dollars in the north end of the county, and there's still a presence there. So it's a good opportunity. This $25,000 is a portion of what it's going to take to put the, with inside the facilities, put the equipment in. And so this will pay dividends back to Lake County through education.
We currently KCC already have synchronization to the school, to the hospital, to innovative learning, to Paisley School, and North Lake. this would build a larger program for vocational courses and other things to be provided through that synchronization.
Yeah, their fundraising was $650,000, I think, and so this, while being small, is a definite from Klamath Community College, all their board members and all their fundraising folks, a very positive sign of the support from Lake County, the Board of Commissioners on behalf of our citizenry and the educational opportunities, so it's a good thing.
And just by walking across the street, ran into Senator Steve Harper, who's retired Commissioner Jim Belay and Julie, I can't remember the last name, from KCC.
Yeah.
They were over last week to do a presentation to all the service clubs at one time. The response back when I talked with her over in Klamath the last Thursday was very well received. They was very excited with the amount of people within our community that was so supportive, so very good thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's all good. So we'll take action on that tomorrow. Okay, Commissioner Winters, you want to talk about the South Central Oregon Economic Development District, IGA?
Oh, yes, we approved the amount to be, the amount requested, the $30,000 to be transferred out of video lottery dollars to SCOED for the presence of the position here. During that discussion on the scope of work, I requested quarterly updates from the director. And then one thing that we haven't done in the past, which our auditors have not deemed us on, is we never had a contract or an intergovernmental agreement between Lake County and SCOED. So I talked to the executive director, Betty Riley, and she sent the copy that they have with Klamath County. I got it to Denise, she went through and I got it out, how to get it out to everybody for any input, and sort of plagiarized it and put Lake County in every place where Klamath County was. So it's just cleaning up what needs to be cleaned up. It's just making our agreement official. So
Yep.
I don't know, Denise, did you get any response, or did commissioners have any concerns or anything? It's just housekeeping that we haven't done.
Formalizing it.
Yep. So,
We'll take action on that tomorrow as well.
okay.
Thank you.
Can I ask just one question about the contract? I actually have not seen it. So what I wanted to know is, and I wanted to make a little report at the end too, but maybe now's a good time to ask, about the incubator building. Did you want that to be a part of that, or is that fall into a category on the contract where it doesn't need to be specifically
As far as,
the request for us to work with Dave regarding the screening of the incubator lessees and provide sort of a program to help them be successful while they're there. We're developing an application for them, and then we worked with Jim Bailey to update the lease agreement, et cetera, and then take it forward from there to actually provide some sort of a program to help the tenants be successful.
in the scope of work, it has identify clients for county incubator building and provide business technical assistance to businesses on an ongoing basis.
Perfect, okay.
So, we just sort of missed that component on one person that came in the incubator building, but I've probably been here plenty of time, and I should have said, we need to make sure they check with their economic development to help give business plan and all the things to help them. What an incubator building is designed for is to start up and move out. So,
So it's in there, that's great.
It's in the scope of work.
And then the next question I would have is, I know that Jim Bailey has reviewed it, and I think that Dave has brought a copy of that to you folks. Does that process plus the application that we're designing need to come before the three of you before we exercise them, or is that something we can just do?
Right now, it's not on the agenda, but we're working have a new contract put together for people to
Right,
rent the integrated building, and I would think at that time, when Dave brings that forward, probably the.
oh, okay, so you
All
have,
that-
okay, you haven't got it, right.
And we can get an update at that time as a whole board.
Okay, we'll just, yeah, we'll bring a package
Because of-
to you.
Dave is a manager of the lands and the facilities. He's not
Right.
an economic development person, and that's where your expertise and scope
Right.
comes in.
Well, Dave and I'll get together and
Yeah.
figure that out. Okay, good, thanks.
Okay, so Commissioner Kessler, you've got the last two items.
The one I have on it is North Lake Military Veterans Recognition. As all of you are aware, we have a honor road monument on the county property here, and it's acknowledged all who gave the ultimate sacrifice. But also on the backside, it just acknowledged all veterans, peacetime, military time, survived, not survived. I've been talking with a couple of gentlemen up in northern, been on the back of my mind for several years, but they would like to have some type of acknowledgement of veterans also up there. Probably not something quite as prominent as one we have here, but something. It's early in the discussion, so I'm not saying I don't have a proposer per se. During 4th of July, I'll be up there talking with John Flowery, that the John Flowery Park would be the ideal place because it's a kind of a central thing. However, it depends on how we go about funding. Well, he's kind of reaching out, you know, another gentleman up there. What does these citizens, veterans up there would like to have? It could be just a pedestal with a plaque on it, which would cost a lot. Or it could be something more, that hadn't been sorted out. But the one option is a grant through the Oregon Parks and Rec. They have a Veterans Memorial Grant opportunity there. There is a small match, and I'll get to that later. But if we happen to go through that process, like I said, those decisions, I'm just investigating options.
Sure.
Right there, well, you know that John Flowery is making a big barbecue.
Yeah, beautiful.
Very impressive. But back toward the main highway, you notice he has a sidewalk, and then this little enclave with a pedestal he's going to have a tank put there. If we went with this Oregon Parks and Rec, it has to be on county-owned or county-administered land. Property. But if we placed it 2 inches onto us over between where the fireplace is and the sidewalk, John said he would extend the sidewalk down onto us, if we agreed, and have it right there facing back. So it'd become, even though it'd be 2 inches on county property, it would add to the overall park scenario. And I was talking with Dave, I was looking at the county flagpole, with kind of embarrassing, it's kind of like he's looking at a new flagpole. So if there is if we go that route with a grant, it would be this fall and awarded next spring. But if we went with a nice flagpole as part of the project, that could easily meet our grant match. And then it'd be working with John Flowery if we go this route. Using the same style of stone that he has, so everything blends in. But just wanted to see your guys' ideas, like the seed or investigate.
Why don't you see what the community wants, if it's, I hate to use the word fairly common, if it's just nice and it's not over the top, get a cost. And then we should consider further grant, or if there is any dollars that we could just leverage to just do it, even if it is on that property.
These two gentlemen, I asked both of them, I said, what does your preference of your want? So that's the driver. And because how we kind of determine the magnitude of a recognition monument, or maybe something else that fits in, whatever. But that is one, planning out what the folks up there really want, and that's an effort unto itself too. And I'll ask Charlie, Veteran Service, when he goes up there to ask, because he's working with the veterans. And the other aspect, like I said, I'll be discussing it more with Lowry on the 4th of July, but basically, if there's a light fundraiser of citizens up there to kind of help with the match, that gives ownership and pride. So there's different options without costing the county arm and leg. So I'd just like to know if you guys think that'd be a good idea, and I'll proceed working on it and keep you abreast as we go.
Well, I think it'd be great. My only question, Commissioner, is as we would start to move down that process, and the park up there is beautiful, and, you know, John's and everything that they've done. But this is another one of those cases where we honor all of our veterans out here. And this is on the south end of the county. So if we participate in honoring our veterans with a new memorial of some kind up there, are we looking at, even though we probably haven't had anybody discuss it, all of our other communities wanting something like that, or the support from the county to do something similar? That would be my biggest question.
Yeah, that would be a big question welcomed. I think Paisley needs to have something awesome.
Yeah.
That's crossed my mind a few times.
Yeah. So,
I'm really interested in what comes out of what kind of design, and because of when they're gas people, there's usually some people just want something that's not elaborate, other people want it to be the extreme, but if it comes out to be something that could be replicated someplace else or whatever.
Yeah, like this one out here, what is the original, and this is Harry Anthony, when he was mayor of the town. It was to acknowledge all the veterans who died in war, the other one. I'm thinking something to, not as, because if it did the same up there, you'd duplicate the names down here.
Yeah.
Like Buick, this one. You know, Buick one, Left Markham, that D-Day. But just something to acknowledge all veterans, peacetime, wartime, without going through, because if you start doing names, you duplicate them, and you always want to miss a name.
Yes.
So it's just acknowledging veterans service.
I like the thought.
okay,
I'll proceed and keep you abreast.
so your next item is add on summer Head Start food program.
Last winter, USDA office in Portland notified me that they had a summer food program, grant program. And so I've sent it out to the different schools and to Head Start, and Vicki Taylor snatched it up real fast. Basically, in our schools, we have a SNAP program, food for kids that are under income level. And the question came about is, what do they eat during the summer when they're not in school? And that's what this program is intended, is some service a few times a week. And I didn't get any response from Northern Lake, or Paisley, but Vicki captured it here. But Vicki asked me if I would help one day, so I said, sure I will. Well, it came about to be more than one person helping one day. It's for a body, like the county, they provide 2 people, 5 days. And it's just during lunch hour, pick up food at the hospital and take, I don't have all the details because Vicki and I have been kind of disjunct a little bit on the emails, but it'd be toward the end of July, so I have time to give it Vicki in. But it'd be great if we had 2 commissioners working together one day, maybe Denise and another commissioner working a day, maybe the assessor and another person working a day. I'd just like to know if you guys would like to entertain me soon filling the gaps other than.
So how long are the,
It's a couple of hours during midday.
During midday?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be willing to help.
I don't have all the details yet because Vicki and I just haven't got, like I said, I told her I would, and then I said, well, make sure you have 2 people for a whole week. I said, what?
So this would be 1 week during the summer, would this be an annual thing?
This grant was this one time.
I like your idea of, basically you could put it out in what department heads,
Yeah.
or maybe even employees would like to spend 2 hours helping the community do this. I'm more than willing to spend a couple hours myself, as Commissioner Shannon said, but I think it'd be, probably shouldn't say this, I think it'd be relatively easy to find people within the county that would be willing to do something.
Like they're approaching other entities like the town, police department, and all kinds. It's a chance for the county to participate in it also.
I would think maybe the wellness committee might be a
I'll be-
place that you go to and say,
Yeah. Good.
you guys organize this for me.
Very good thought. Because I'm stressed so thin. I
Well-
like to-
Utilize wellness committee.
I will, thanks. But I just want to bounce it off, see if it's, because I've often wondered what the kids eat in the summer when they don't have a food program. That's good. That's when they get skinny.
I'd definitely do 2 hours one of the days.
I will too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Okay.
that's what that subject was.
Okay. So I think we've covered everything on the regular agenda, so we'll go to department updates. Denise, did you have anything else besides? Okay. Linda?
I do. I just recently, last week, sent you all an email invitation to a meeting here this coming Thursday at 10 a.m. It's a conference call with an engineering company called Cardno that we're exploring the possibility of working with them to develop a plan for possible brownfield cleanup in our industrial park, most especially the northern part, the northern industrial park, and also possibly the mill site, the Carlin mill site in Paisley, and possibly other previous gas stations here in Lakeview, or actually any other place that might get identified. It's really in the very, very beginning stages, and I sent you a little bit of information about it, and I just wanted to remind you about it and see, make sure that if you are available to come and listen to what the folks there have to say about how that might work, and what well, probably, if it were to come true, it would need to be a partnership and a collaboration between Lake County, the town of Lakeview, the city of Paisley, and SCOED. I don't know about any other partners at this point in time, but that's sort of the list that comes forward at this time. So.
Perhaps the board of directors for the taxing district in Christmas Valley might.
Oh, that would be a good idea.
Because they could represent their interests.
Sure,
Yep.
sure, that's a good.
And just for the audience, this Brownsville, there's a program of EPA for doing assessment of a site, like an old mill site. If you're going to, if you own an old mill site and you're going to try to sell it, first question of a lending institute or buyer is it contaminated? This program would, on willing landowners, assess the property, whether it's contaminated or not. And there's a grant program that doesn't require a match, so it's not an overly financial thing to us. But it's identifying properties that are, you say, maybe shovel ready to go, and doesn't need a brownfield cleanup. This program is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, it's mostly an assessment stage.
Yeah, it would be a 3-year program. We could request up to $500,000 for that 3-year period. And there would engage in what they call Phase 1, Phase 2 EPA brownfield project, which gets everybody together and the communities to decide first of all, if they want to do it, and the landowners to get them involved with it. Provide some, actual physical assessment of what's going on with the properties, and they make recommendations, and then of course there would need to be follow-up as to what is going to be involved to clean it up, and at that point in time, it opens up even more grant opportunities for the landowners and the communities. One of the pieces of this is for the communities to decide, and when I say communities, I do mean communities are involved in the process of deciding what happens with this, what could happen with the zoning in these properties. I think we're fairly realistic at this point in time to believe that we're not going to have the large mill industry in that area again more than what maybe possibly we have right now. So we could look at doing things like softer industries. I don't know what they would be, but I'm thinking possibly like what has been set up in the industrial park in the southern part of town. Maybe not exactly that, we don't really know, but that's just an example. The other thing is it could also be, there could be some set aside for parks. There could be get it ready for development for housing, multifamily and or other housing projects, because that was really kind of the impetus for looking at this, because we do have a serious deficit and an issue with housing here in Lakeview. And I think that that's probably true in my conversations with Commissioner Shannon, with Paisley too. So it could address many different issues and possibly be a really positive movement forward. It's long term, it's not a quick fix. But I think that if we don't start engaging and looking at some of these things, even though they're long term, they aren't going to happen for us. This particular engineering group is an international group, and this particular group that's stationed in, or their offices are in Atlanta, have had really great success in other communities. And I'd like to find out a little bit more from them about that, in working with very rural communities similar to ours. And so anyway, that's kind of the gist of it. And we're just in the investigation stage at this time, and I think it'd be really helpful and important for you all to be there to answer questions and hear the information. So.
Very good.
So,
Trying to be here.
one question.
Sure.
Landowners, how accepting of this thought are they right now?
Part of that has not been approached. Part of the project is doing that, is beginning that process. That's fortunate. You don't have to have that all taken care of before you apply for the grant. That's part of the process. And
that's a challenge with it.
It's a challenge, and this group.
When you just say the word brownfield, landowners.
Absolutely,
leave
yeah.
it alone.
And I've had some conversations with some of our folks that have interest in that, that property in the north end, and it has been frustrating. Some of them want to move that property, and it's difficult. So this could be helpful to them in that regard.
For the property owners to realize the benefit of being able to go through this process and how that makes their, property be basically certified then, and it's very much more marketable, makes Lake County more marketable. We should be able to, through this process, from what I understand from the folks at Cardinal, also there would be help available to them financially to make that happen, so. Yeah.
Great. Bonnie, did you have anything?
Well, we finished the sidewalk. You need to come down and see it. It's pretty awesome. The road department's done the first go-over, I guess, of the area between the barns, the show area between the barns and where the food court is, to lower it, and you can see the condition of the barns. And I think I'm going to leave it like that for during fair, because when at some point over the next 3 to 5 years we do some kind of community buy-in for new barns, which is going to happen pretty soon, they can literally see it. It's not covered up by the wood chips and all that kind of stuff. So I think it'll be a huge eye-opener. But I think they're supposed to come back and do a little bit more. We need about 6 or 7 inches done, but it's extremely changed and noticeable already, so that's pretty exciting. James is setting the forms for the entrance this morning, so that we can hopefully get the forms poured for it. Then he can start with the block and then eventually the stone. So we're on kind of schedule for that. The bathrooms, I'm working on meeting all the permit conditions, because when I put in the permit, I just assumed they knew that we would have ceiling vents and drains in the floor, but, so I have to show all that stuff. So I'm working with Bob to redo the picture, or the graph, whatever it's called. But that's come along. I almost have all of the materials ordered for it. Hopefully it will start sometime mid-July to be built. Grandstand.
There's a commissioner work day to help stand walls one.
And there will be, yes, sir. And the grandstand project that we were doing, which was the cleaning up, we're trying to get it power washed. We only have access to 2 power washers, and we can't have the prison crew do power washers unless we do the training, and we can't. So anyway, we're trying to get another power washer so that we can get that done. They're scheduled to come out next Monday, the 26th? Yeah, the 26th. And they've dedicated 4 days to the project as community service that we don't pay for. So I really want to get this project done. So what we'll do is we'll get everything power washed, and then they'll come through and check for, nails that need to be in, that need to be repounded, boards that need to be replaced, etc. And then painting it. So I'm still looking for spray painters, paint sprayers. So I'm still looking for that, and then, because they can do that. And so then they'll be looking like kind of new.
Well, you mentioned coming down, looking at the sidewalks, and I really want to do that. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I did happen to drive by there the other day and saw the fence. That looked really nice.
Yeah.
Whitewash fence, looks nice.
Yeah, well, don't get real close, because they really are in bad condition,
Yes.
but when they didn't
They are.
cover it, it did make a major difference.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah,
we're set to have the side ones done also, and
good.
so, yeah.
Those last whitewash, probably 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah. And we did get all the, I say we, James, got all the trees trimmed on both sides of the signs, so we were getting comments about, you can't really see it.
Yeah.
So, but it's been fun, and Phil the Boot was successful. They brought down the money for fireworks yesterday, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for plumbing and engineering contracts for the bathrooms, and that's about it.
Great. Okay. Before we go to liaison update, Steve has sat here patiently, and I think he's just attending to hear what's going on. But
I am.
Oh,
I just wanted to give you a chance to comment. It's not a normal public comment day, but as our administrator of Warner Creek, if you had anything you wanted to.
I don't. I was just here to participate.
You do have graduation this weekend.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Our GED class of incarcerated men are graduating this weekend. We have a record graduation for Warner Creek. I didn't hear we had 40, and 4 more were taking tests, so we could have as high as 44 men receiving the GED this weekend, so it's fantastic. I won't be in attendance, but Mr. Schneider and Mr. Stankliff will be there representing Warner Creek administration on Saturday, so very proud of that.
I'll be there.
Ms. Durkin has done a wonderful job, our education coordinator.
I understand the family members and all, the attendance is at full capacity this year.
It is. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that. I appreciate it.
Great. Okay, liaison updates.
I think you guys hit almost every one of my departments. Ronnie took care of the fair board,
Yeah.
the nuisance was on.
All sorts of
That's the part, just a note, tomorrow is the open house for the Lakeview Gardens, correct? Tomorrow from 3 to 7. If anybody's going to go to that. We do have OSU extension next Monday at 9 o'clock, budget. Make sure we have a forum for that.
What day is that?
Monday, the 26th, 9 o'clock. So we want to be sure and make that. I'll let you report on Joe Mack Higgins last Thursday. I did attend that, but I'll let you talk a little bit about that. So other than that, that's all I have to say.
Wow.
I'm for brevity.
Kind of chaperoned the Senator Merkley's town hall meeting last Saturday, and there's probably about 60 folks or so there, but it was a really good, it was all positive, and Amy Amrine mentioned several times afterwards that that was one of the best town hall meetings that Merkley have had, not just for Lakeview, but across the county. It was extremely in-depth questions, good questions, and it went really good. This afternoon, Dave Berman and I will be going to Paisley to meet with the Forest Service on our communication use lease on Dead Indian communication site. We have a structure up there. We used to house our telecommunication in it, but this permit was issued in 1996 and it was at no cost. So if we had staff like Dave Berman and others rotate, there was never an appearance of notification of it until it expired last December. So I'll be negotiating with them. The thing is, the county doesn't have our own facility in it anymore, but the emergency management services does use the building, I understand. And I'll be arguing that they are a branch of the county, since we are the ultimate responsible party for emergency management services. So we'll see where that conversation goes. We have to maintain our EMS communication. So Dave and I will be there instead of at Dog Lake. Next Tuesday, I'll be gone to, I'm on a state Oregon Department of Forestry, DEQ, smoke review management, and I'll be gone next Tuesday to an all-day session on that. This Thursday, we have a county economic advisory committee meeting in the morning, 10 o'clock on Thursday, if anybody wishes to attend. And the brownfield subject will be a topic of that also. And I already covered the Warren Creek graduation. What time is it? 1 o'clock?
I don't remember the time.
I think it's
sorry.
1 o'clock. I know Gene's like, I had to break out my.
Hey, tell your slaps.
We're about once every 5 years. For the 4th of July, I told John Flowery I'll meet him, so I'm going to be up there. I missed the parade last year, but I attended last year. So I'm going to make sure I catch you a parade this year. That's all I got.
Okay, well, I'll be kind of brief, and Commissioner Winters, as far as Joe Max Higgins goes, just jump in, because mine's going to be a kind of short report on it. We did get invited by Dr. Gutierrez to go over and attend a couple of different sessions with Joe Max Higgins, who is the Economic Development Director out of what the area called the Golden Triangle in Mississippi. He's pretty well known nationally. This all came about originally as a result of an interview that he did on the 60 Minutes program in early December, talking about the successes they've had down there. But for our meeting, Joe is quite a character. That's being very brief on that description. Great guy, seemed to be, and he just shared a lot of the processes. And since we were in Klamath Falls, we were able to get one additional day. He almost had to cancel his trip up here in general, but so he got more exposed to what's going on with Casita and Klamath County Economic Development department over there. And I think the general gist was, on a scale basis, that our area is on the right track, and we have a lot of the amenities, a lot of the landscapes that really lend itself to good economic development. But he really did talk about scaling up relative to having that vision and the chances that you take, the investments that you have to make. But just like I said, in general, it was a really good opportunity to not only listen to him, but ask him questions and visit. We met out at Casita for a period of time and then adjourned that, and we were invited over to KCC to attend the luncheon and had a good visit there as well. And he stayed on and spoke at the commencement ceremony the following day at KCC. And in the meantime, haven't had a chance to talk to him since the meeting, but I know I want to follow up with him. But as I said, in a nutshell, it was well worth our time, I think, to go over. I think Commissioner Winters felt that way.
Yeah, I was asked by Dr. Gutierrez, what do you think, is this worth your time? And absolutely. One thing for sure, reassured some of the ways we've been working for a long time. I mean, some of the things he brought forward, which we worked on, community service fees, tax abatement for the tract companies and other things, having the properties available. We have, at our level of our population, we're staged pretty good. Even listen to some of his theories. Workforce was naturally one of the big things that was talked about, and the declining of the workforce, electricians and painters and people just come in.
Vocational.
Yeah, and so, and we all worry about that, and the whole works. If we do attract industry or light industry or anything, there is, you do go out and you push to bring people in to fill those jobs. You want all the locals you can or whatever, but that doesn't have to be the absolute barrier of not being able to sell your community. It is a barrier. You want to get everybody trained up and that you can, but it's interesting where he's from, they have a lot of workforce that needed to get some further education and some expertise, and a lot of people really, really accepted that. What we're sort of missing is for all of our economic development, in just my opinion, to come together with sort of one vision, one voice, because we're so big. We got North Lake, we got Paysanville, Lakeview, and Klamath has similar things too, because they got Schmaltz and Chillicothe and all this, but, and I sort of asked him about that, and he said, well, partnership, you have to partnership, and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel a lot of times and that type of stuff. So it was interesting. I left re-energized on some of the things that we work on all the time, because we sort of get a little bit of time to work on this or that, and then it sort of gets pushed to the side. But I think we're staging ourselves pretty good on economic development.
Well, Commissioner, I'm glad you mentioned a couple of those things. One, the college, and the second, the organizational structure. He really emphasized, and it took him a few years because he's been there since 2004, I think. But now the three counties are ran as one program. They have different emphasis in each of the counties, but he is the overseer of all of it. So that really does help give them focus. The community college part, as he mentioned too, and I won't mention, I don't remember what the name of the community college is there, but how it had been used in the past as it related to all the major universities and their athletic programs is kind of smarten up the students so they can go on to the university. But the emphasis now, and that's where KCC, I think, has shown its ability early on in the growing of that institute here, KCC, is the nimbleness, and they're nimble enough down there now that they have pushed forward with I don't know how many multi-million dollars in a structural improvement. They went from having, I think, 2 or 3, as he referred to it, bays for educational, the technical aspect to kind of meet the needs of the job opportunities, to this new structure, which was planned to be, I think, 16 bays top end. They're 21. They've got them all, these companies in many cases have latched onto them, and they pay a big lease or whatever because they want the training to happen. So I think it's more of a classroom, but it's huge just to do this. So they have so many emerging industries there, and they have the companies committed to it. So, you know, it's a great deal, and I think KCC on a smaller scale, it's all about scale, is trying to do the same thing. So I'm going to roll on into just a real quick thing. I know with Mr. Brown here today, we've all been talking about opportunities out at the Warner Creek facility. The 44 potential graduates in GED is wonderful. Without going into great detail, I think our vision, we had a good visit last week, talked to Dr. Gutierrez a little bit about it as well, and others, because as I said, we've all been working on these educational opportunities, but I think we have the opportunity to support KCC potentially in a way that we didn't ever envision before. Hopefully in the north end with the community college taxing district up there, we can do some things with that. I've been working with Ann on getting some of the ORA, ORS language. I think there's some opportunity there as well, so that we can strengthen and commit, instead of having 3 colleges, community colleges represent Lake County, ironically, with 8,000 people, get one that's truly committed to Lake County. And it's not going to be a short fix, but I think that between all the work all of us are doing, we're going to get there. And I think with our institute out there, I think we have at least an idea of something that might be unique enough that it'll be a pilot test model, as we were discussing that. Dr. Gutierrez was really intrigued with that. And it's just all in the early talking stages for all of us. So I'll stop with that. I'll just mention yesterday I had a great conference call. Aaron Fauerbach from Senator Wyden's office in D.C. We've been in many discussions on forced health, on PILT, on SRS, secure rural schools, etc. She reached out to me over the weekend. I asked Ann to sit in on it because Ann's been doing a lot of the analysis of the PILT payment with a tax, not only in Oregon, but across the West. And we've also been looking at what happens to us as counties in this next year if we don't actually get an extension of secure rural schools. It kicks in this program called prior year payments, and it's in a nutshell. We don't have enough time, nor does anyone want to listen to it today, but I will guarantee you the impacts to many counties across the United States would be incredibly detrimental. So that was kind of at the heart of the discussion. It's surprising the very folks who make the appropriations and authorizations in DC, and I found this out a year ago, just to verify it with Congressman Walden, that actually don't understand the actions that are taking, what the impacts are, and it is huge. With that said, there's a true hope. There's proposed legislation to do an extension on SRS for 2 years, which I believe would be retroactive to fill this year's non-payment. We've received revenue sharing instead. With that part of it, that's the short term. And we've been talking about this for years. But we've proposed, and that was a lot of the discussion yesterday, to get back to that one singular, not these multiple federal payments from this or from that, but specifically SRS and PILT, to get to one singular fair and equitable payment for otherwise untaxable lands throughout our counties in Oregon and in the West. It had a tremendous Mary Gautreaux from the Portland office. Mary's been working on this for a long time. The Portland office of Senator Wyden had some really good positive feelings about it. We're going to do a whole bunch of follow-up, and we hope we come up with some solutions, both short-term and long-term. So that'll be all I'll say on that for now. Just once again, going back to KCC, they're just starting down. We had invited Chip Massey as well as former Commissioner Vallejo over a few weeks ago. Just starting to put the pieces together on the workforce program that KCC is taking over from Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council. I think more than anything, the meeting they had with us here was more helpful than almost anything else they could do because of the counties, specifically in our district, which is Klamath and Lake, that have been involved with the program over the last multiple years. They got the best flavor of how valuable it is by being here, and it really resonated with Chip, and he shared that with Dr. Gutierrez and others. So I think we're headed the right direction with that as well. So I'll stop there.
One thing,
Mhm.
when Treasurer Crumrine left, she was kind of, I think, looking for direction on what we were doing with that 25,000 so she could put it into her resolution for tomorrow. I don't know if we want to make a decision.
So I'll make a motion if it's okay with the board.
That works too.
If we have the funding,
Yeah.
do it one time.
Yeah.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded
All
on the,
right.
thank you Denise, on the KCC Foundation campaign funding to fund it on a one-time payment as described in our minutes by the treasurer, but essentially it will be being paid out of this coming year's budget, but she can make sure she has that. Thank you, Denise.
Yeah, that's
Clear
important, so we can adopt
in the
it.
budget tomorrow. So, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yes, Denise, thank you very much. And another thing, and I apologize, I left it on your desk yesterday, but the certification on our CAFRA, I meant to ask you to pass that around. But can we have that as an add-on tomorrow, not just to,
You don't want to wait for the actual plaque stuff,
well, we can, yeah.
however you want.
No, that'll be fine,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what
Okay.
we usually do, so.
Nope, that'll work.
Okay.
One more little liaison, and it has to do with, at the Berkeley, meet and greet, you brought up where Red Rock is, and I haven't been able to be in all of the places. I told them, most of the permitting, everything is being taken care of. The biggest thing is financing right now, with the bond market having been down, but it's coming back playful and so forth. And then we got on the topic of natural gas and the difficulty of getting it from Red Rock into town because of the high cost to a distance and a 3-year payback, even though that gas committee was willing to look at 7 years, be 7 years. So I brought up the aspect of churning coal, because it's back in front of FERC now, Federal Industry Regulatory Commission. And he asked, I mentioned that if that goes through, Ferguson, one of the owners of the pipeline, have offered some contribution for meeting that extension. And then he got on the topic, Markley, well, who's on favor of Jordan Cove? And I said, I don't know. But he didn't ask why. He just kind of counters, well, and kind of follows, it's 10-1 against it, and so forth. I don't care. But one of the things, not to, if it went through, would it help Lakeview without natural gas? What I failed to mention to him is that Harrison already have several overseas contracts for billions of dollars, and working on another 1 or 2 billions of dollars would be a great asset in helping reduce our trade deficit. But
was you able to mention to him that our air quality and helping get
I
us
mentioned that
into our...
because we had just talked about the wood stoves and all that.
And new industry, because we won't have so many air quality restrictions, and a new pipeline, a secondary pipeline, that's going to help many of our taxing districts accomplish their missions and their services. Yeah.
It would be about 3 to 4 years out.
Well, I listened to Senator Merkley's town hall, the parts that they showed. I'm glad you mentioned that. And quite honestly, I mean, we're on the camera, but you know, it's a political dance. He doesn't oppose it, but he didn't want to be on record as is favoring it, so I'm sure that's a lot of it. And it's, yeah, it's interesting.
But there's, on this new FERC process, it'll take a couple of years, have to go through the EIS again, the whole bureaucratic process. So we even Charlie Coast a couple of years out, and Commissioner Shum alluded to, always a rumor that another Ruby pipeline come through. I actually, last spring, I encountered the contractor at Safeway. But then I asked the president of Harrison, and they said, nothing definitive yet. But if it happens, it'll be about 3 or 4 years out. Which is, that was more, meeting that contractor at Safeway validated a lot of scuttlebutt rumors. That's all I got.
Okay, we will adjourn our work session June 20th at 11:15.